The following presentation is a teaching by Avraham Emunah. The Kabbalistic teachings of Jesus and Jewish mysticism in the Gospels. The teachings of Jesus often echo deep mystical concepts that resonate with the ancient Jewish mystical tradition known as Kabbalah. While the Christian tradition interprets Jesus' words primarily through a theological lens, many of his statements can be understood within the context of Jewish mysticism. This video will explore 6 key passages where Jesus' teachings parallel Kabbalistic ideas, particularly focusing on themes such as the divine origin of the soul, the spiritual rebirth, and the ascent to heavenly realms. Passage 1. John chapter 3, verses 3 to 8, being born from above. Jesus says to Nicodemus, "Truly, truly I say to you, unless one is born again or born from above, he cannot see the kingdom of God." In this passage, Jesus is speaking about a rebirth, not in a literal sense, but in a spiritual sense. The phrase born from above is often translated as born again, but in the original Greek, the word anothen literally means from above. This evokes the Kabbalistic concept of the soul's divine origin. In Kabbalah, the soul is seen as descending from the higher heavenly realms into the physical world. According to this tradition, the ultimate goal of human existence is to reconnect with the divine, returning to the spiritual source from which the soul originates. Jesus' teaching of being born from above parallels the Kabbalistic idea that spiritual enlightenment requires a rebirth of consciousness, an awakening to one's divine origin and purpose. In Kabbalistic thought, there are different levels of the soul, with the neshama being the higher, divine soul connected to the realm of Atzilut, a higher spiritual world in the Kabbalistic cosmology. To see the kingdom of God in the sense Jesus is describing is to reawaken to this divine aspect of the soul. Passage 2. John chapter 3, verse 13. Ascension of the soul. No one has ascended into heaven except he who descended from heaven, the Son of Man. This statement by Jesus also reflects a deep Kabbalistic concept. In Jewish mysticism, the soul is understood to have descended from the divine realm, and its ultimate purpose is to ascend back to its source. The Son of Man in this passage can be seen as a metaphor for the divine soul in every individual, which originates in heaven and is destined to return. In Kabbalah, the process of spiritual ascension is not just reserved for after death, but can be experienced during one's lifetime through spiritual practices such as Torah study and observance, acts of kindness and meditation. This ascension mirrors the soul's return to its divine source, a theme echoed in Jesus' teaching about the Son of Man. The soul, having descended into the physical world, must ascend through spiritual effort to reunite with the divine. The Zohar, a central text of Kabbalah, describes how the soul can ascend through the spiritual realms to rejoin with the divine light, a journey mirrored in Jesus' teaching that only the soul that has descended can ascend again. Passage 3, Matthew chapter 6, verses 22 to 23. The spiritual eye and perception. The eye is the lamp of the body. So if your eye is healthy, your whole body will be full of light. But if your eye is bad, your whole body will be full of darkness. Jesus here is not merely speaking about physical sight, but the eye as a metaphor for spiritual perception. In Kabbalah, the idea of spiritual vision is paramount, particularly in the understanding of light as a metaphor for divine wisdom or chokmah and understanding or bina. The healthy eye represents an individual who sees the world through divine wisdom, with clarity and enlightenment, filling the person with spiritual light. A bad eye represents a soul clouded by material distractions and ego, preventing the reception of divine light. In Kabbalistic teachings, or Ein Sof, the infinite light is the divine energy that permeates all creation. The ability to perceive this light depends on one's spiritual state. Jesus' statement reflects this idea. Those with an awakened consciousness can receive and reflect divine light, while those blinded by material concerns remain in spiritual darkness. Passage 4. Luke chapter 17, verse 21, the kingdom of God is within you. The kingdom of God is not coming in ways that can be observed, for behold, the kingdom of God is within you. Jesus' teaching about the kingdom of God being within reflects the Kabbalistic notion that divinity is immanent, residing not only in the heavens but within the soul of every human being. This aligns with the Kabbalistic understanding of God's presence, the Shekinah, dwelling within creation and within every individual. In Kabbalah, the concept of Tzimtzum refers to the idea that God contracted his infinite light to create space for the world, but this divine essence remains within creation, hidden yet accessible. The journey of spiritual awakening involves recognizing and revealing this divine light within oneself. Jesus' teaching that the kingdom of God is within resonates with this Kabbalistic idea that the divine is not something external but a reality that exists deep within each soul. Passage 5, John 17, verse 21. That they may all be one, just as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they also may be in us. This prayer of Jesus reflects the Kabbalistic principle of achdut, or unity. In Kabbalah, the ultimate goal of existence is to realize the oneness of all creation and its inherent unity with the divine. Jesus' desire for his followers to experience unity as he is united with God mirrors the Kabbalistic idea that all of creation is interconnected and that the multiplicity of the world is ultimately an illusion. The divine reality is one, echoing the Jewish Shema, the Lord our God is one. In Kabbalah, the unity of all things is an essential teaching. The world is currently seen as a fragmented expression of the divine, and the work of spiritual growth is to repair the world's brokenness, or tikkun olam. By recognizing and manifesting the underlying oneness, Jesus' teaching here reflects the idea that the goal of the soul is to reunite with God, experiencing his ultimate oneness and unity of all. Passage 6, John 10, verse 30, I and the Father are one. This is one of Jesus' most direct and profound teachings on unity with God. In this statement, Jesus is expressing the ultimate goal of Kabbalistic spirituality, devekut, or clinging to God. In Kabbalah, devekut refers to an individual's ability to align their will, mind, and consciousness with the divine will. Achieving this unity is not just about being close to God, but about fully merging one's will with the will of God, so that the two act as one. The unity of Jesus and the Father, as expressed in this verse, can be understood through the lens of Kabbalah as the achievement of perfect devekut. In Kabbalistic terms, when a person achieves spiritual enlightenment, they align their own consciousness with the higher consciousness of God. This alignment means that they no longer act out of personal ego or individual desires, but instead their actions become a direct manifestation of the divine will. In Kabbalah, this state is considered the highest level of spiritual attainment. The Zohar teaches that those who achieve this level of unity become true agents of God in the world, embodying divine purpose. Jesus, in saying I and the Father are one, is presenting himself as an example of someone who has achieved this mystical union where his will and actions are completely aligned with God's. While the teachings of Jesus are traditionally interpreted within the Christian framework, many of his sayings reveal profound parallels with Kabbalistic ideas. Concepts such as the divine origin of the soul, spiritual rebirth, the ascent to heaven, and the unity of all creation are deeply embedded in both Jesus' teachings and Kabbalistic thought. By exploring these connections, we can gain a deeper understanding of the mystical dimensions of Jesus' message, which resonates with the ancient Jewish mystical tradition of Kabbalah. Jesus' teachings about being one with the Father illustrate the ultimate goal of Kabbalistic spirituality, the merging of the individual soul with the divine will and consciousness, an achievement that represents the highest spiritual attainment in Jewish mysticism. I believe that this teaching can open the lines of communication between the Jewish and Christian faith and lead to more spiritual growth, considering the actual teachings of Jesus rather than debates about who the Messiah is. Thank you for watching. This has been a presentation of Avraham Emunah. The views expressed here are mine alone and are not meant to be an authoritative representation of any one religious tradition.